Nobody that hasn't seen the movie is not gonna get that intro, like, at all. Welcome, one and all. Annual spooky month is upon us now, and for the sake of keeping theatrics for the month of October, I decided to just skip a few reviews for now and just focus on horror movies for the month of October that I had watched in 2021. I'm going to be returning to these other reviews for 2021 after the month's over, but in the meantime, let's get spooky, let's snuggle up, and let's watch horror movies. Good horror, bad horror, hilarious horror. Nothing's wrong with either, and I just hope that you are able to accompany me for this spooky month as we celebrate all the achievements and disachievements, opposite of achievements, whatever the word is. Razzies, I don't know. For those who do not like my idea of not going in chronological order, too bad. This is the way I am doing it, and I love it. This particular movie, released on HBO Max and in theaters around this time last year, as a matter of fact. It was interesting, to say the least, when it came to the marketing, because it really just came out of left field. From director James Wan comes a somewhat new twist to his renowned horror movie styles. Besides Aquaman, I can't recall a time where James Wan really branched out of his horror movie tropes or his horror movie upbringing. I believe I've mentioned his name many times in my horror movie reviews because it seems as though I've just always placed him on a pedestal for all my horror movie reviews because I just enjoy his template. Malignant. This was certainly refreshing, to say the least, because this one blended, wait for it, drumroll, action with horror. I know, right? You're hearing me say that and you're just like, how is that going to work? This movie in particular contains the same style of music and sleek metal edge style, you can say, with his other movies. Just the juggling of these two separate genres that aren't usually present in many horror movies or even action movies. It was just different, and I'm about to go really in depth with just how over the top batshit crazy this movie is. It certainly starts off in typical horror movie fashion. Pregnant woman abused by husband. Husband dies from a mysterious entity in the house. Woman is terrorized by the entity that has strange properties. Woman loses her baby. Detectives discover that this entity all along has just been the woman with a cancerous spurt overtaking her body and giving her a split persona. It ultimately ends with the woman combating this split persona from killing everybody else in her own body. You know, the usual stuff you see in horror movies. What? Yeah, those last parts were certainly a little bit, interesting to gulp down. Yeah, it certainly crosses the territory and really aims to stretch your system of disbelief. It really crossed the territory from horror, again, like I say, into straight action when this split persona took over her body and was just performing just absolutely ridiculous shit. When it came to this other entity, we'll call him Gabriel, because that's actually what this cancerous spurt was called in the movie. Every time Gabriel was on screen overtaking her body, just everything from the camera movements and choice of music just really sold the fact that you were just watching an action movie at this point. It was just so not what you would feel in a horror movie. Now, specifically going with the first act alone, it starts off like any effective James Wan horror movie, and it certainly has some real, genuine chilling moments. Creepy imagery and impressive camera work. Then it really starts to ante up the actually effective jump scares. Like I mentioned before in my previous reviews, James Wan's version of jump scares just usually work for me, and I don't mind them, because my rule of jump scares is it something that we are supposed to be afraid of? If it turns out that this jump scare is just something like a friendly entity that we're not supposed to be afraid of, it's just a waste of a jump scare. If you're going to make us jump on our seat over something, have it at least be something that we should be fearful of. And then by the time we were transitioning from the second act to the third act, that is when these plot reveals really start to get batshit crazy, and this movie's concept really gets set off the rails. Now, when it comes to the juggling of the tone between a campy thriller and serious horror, it can be a bit jarring, and it certainly was a bit jarring for me at certain times. Moments with musical stings and side characters' dialogue choices that just come off as sort of goofy even. Really cheesy and just borderline parody even. Some will like that style, some will just find it completely unnecessary. And a part of me just was kind of loving it in the back of my head. I knew it was just borderline stupid, borderline silly, but I was kind of all for it. The pure chaos of each reveal was just making the campiness and cheesiness increase, as if it was just some sort of character in an RPG, just leveling up bits at a time. It just really felt like that's what the script was doing. Just the ultimate campy horror. It was still jarring at times. Some moments did work for me, others where I was just like, I think it pushed way too much over the line when it came to the cheesiness, to where it just kind of felt like it was a half and half for me. Half the times I liked it, half the times I was distracted by it. So 50-50, you could say. Each secret that was revealed about Gabrielle, being a part of the protagonist her whole life and only coming out of her in the most convenient times or just in the darkest moments of this main character's life. Manipulating her behavior to just commit acts of evil in her own body without her knowing it or realizing it is so much more of an original and, I would say, ingenious idea than just another standard malicious evil demon or spirit that's just coming to haunt somebody. So the moment we, the audience, are aware as to Gabriel's doings and everything that he's been doing, he just decides, okay, we're going full balls to the wall action movie. I am taking over this woman's body and I am going to be going full on Gabriel mode here. He starts to just mess with everybody, and he just starts to even make our main character see through psychological torment of just letting her see it as if they are visions in her head, seeing her own body being controlled and committing these murderous acts. It was just cool, and it was just refreshing. But especially going into the ultimate climax of the movie where Gabriel just says, that's it. He literally just decides to just come out of her skull, and we see his own face coming out of the back of her skull, just like as if it's just cracking out of her own skull and just going on a complete rampage, breaking her arms and legs that are twisted around. And it's just, this is so cool. Do you not see this? Is this not insane? It's just pure insanity idea that it certainly had the risk of just not working, but it was just so embraced and it was so just shoved in your face to the point where it was just absurd and fun. Once he goes full rampage mode here in the final action sequences, and I say action sequences because no longer are these camera angles made to incite mystery or fear. This is now just a full-blown action movie at this point. It just feels like it's coming straight from like a supervillain origin story. The choreography of all of these gory kills is fantastic. My biggest gripe besides the tonal shifts of this movie is, again, the script just wanting to really stretch your system of disbelief for all of this. It is treated from all the other characters in the movie as if this is some serious true crime event that has happened before. All these detectives and everything, they treat it as if it's nothing that is beyond our world. They treat it as if this is something that may possibly happen. Crazy for sure, but it may happen. That's at least what I was getting from the performances. And speaking of stretching your system of disbelief, Gabriel had some questionable supernatural abilities that just were not explained. It just came off as very confusing. His ability to use electronic telepathy, to the ability to just dodge rains of bullets flying at him from multiple people shooting at him in the same room. It can certainly turn a lot of people off at that point, and I completely understand that. But for me, who just understands and just embraces this movie's concept, why the fuck not? Overall though, this movie was just a nice change of pace for James Wan. You can certainly tell that his fingerprints were all over this, but it just felt like something new to him. 7 out of 10, a crazy yet fun change of approach for James Wan. This anti-Siamese twin ad really did it for me. I definitely do not want a Siamese twin now. How do they poop?